What's going on, guys? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to MX Bikes, where today I'm going to be playing the 2023 Detroit Supercross track by the ARL Racing track crew, and talking about the real-life Detroit Supercross that just happened over the weekend, and giving my thoughts and opinions. If you normally are with us every Monday when I recap the races, I normally play like Supercross the game and show off that track and stuff like that. But this week I decided, you know what, I really haven't been playing bikes near as much as I really want to be. Obviously with the new Supercross game coming out, I've been playing that quite a bit. We're still doing career mode stuff. So I want to play more bikes. I kind of suck at Supercross, so I apologize in advance that this video probably isn't going to be that appetizing in terms of like a gameplay aspect of it. But I want to just try to be better, and I feel like the only way I can do that is actually play it while I do videos, because really the only time I get to play games is when I'm doing videos, to be honest with you. So we're going to play bikes today. We're going to play Detroit. It might not be the best, but we're going to talk about the Detroit race and play it in bikes and have a little bit of fun along the way. So enjoy the ride while we go through this. All right, so let's jump into it. Obviously, we're going to start off talking about Aaron Plessinger going down late in that 450 main event. He was on his way to his first career Supercross win, clips his foot on the inside of the step on, step off, basically as he's coming to the white flag, and goes flying kind of off the side of the bike, rodeos it, flies into the face of the next jump, tucks in. Man, just a big crash, honestly, but really heartbreaking that it happened. I was so bummed. As a member of the media, I try to remain unbiased, but I think most media members would agree Aaron is one of the truly awesome guys in our sport, and really anybody in the paddock would agree. I think, as much as Kenny last week at Indy getting the win had so many people come up and hugging him, I think if AP had won that main event, you would have the same or more people come up and hug him, because it's been a long road for AP in this 450 class of trying to get this first win, and he's been close on a couple occasions. But he's also just a good dude. He's just awesome to talk to, nice, friendly. And so I think that one hurt for everybody. I don't think that there was a single person aside maybe Sexton that was like really overjoyed that he could go on to win that race. But I think even he was kind of like, man, I've been there. I've seen that too many times. Like, I know what that feels like, and it sucks. So I think a lot of people were bummed. I was bummed, and it sucks. Now, if you didn't catch like what happened after that, AP did kind of like immediately get up and go to the side of the track as like, oh man, I'm hurt. This is going to be rough. But then he did get up after that and tried to get on the bike, but the bike was too damaged, so he couldn't continue. I think unofficially he scored his 13th because he lapped enough people to get basically finishing 2 laps down, finishing 13th, which is pretty crazy. But it's just so unfortunate. He said that he went through that rut, and it was the first time that he stood up in that rut all night long. He'd been sitting into it, and he went to stand up feeling like he was okay, and it just caught his foot awkwardly. It's a very similar situation to what happened with Sexton back at Indy when he caught his foot, well, really his foot pegs, as he dragged it through the rut and then went over the bars going onto the table. But this one just caught AP's feet instead of the pegs, actually, and man, it threw him down for a bad crash. So it just is a bummer. That would have been so cool to see AP win. It was another one of those situations where I feel like we're seeing more and more guys stepping up to the plate a little bit as this title fight gets a little bit gnarlier. And it would have been cool to see Plessinger win while Webb and Sexton and Tomac and all those guys are trying to figure out their own points battle, and then suddenly Plessinger's another fresh face that wins. And I feel like Barsha's still the guy that's like been knocking on the door of opportunity to maybe get a win as well. Obviously it didn't result in anything special for him because he still finished off the podium this week, but at one point he was the fastest rider on the track again and passed basically all the top guys to get into second place, and then started fading about halfway through that main event a little bit. But I still think that Barsha's had the speed to win the last few weeks, and it's only a matter of time before that correlates into something. So we're in a weird spot with this 450 class where, arguably speaking, some of the fastest guys on the track every week are not even our championship contenders, which is really, really weird. And hopefully it kind of keeps rolling, because I'd love to see more of this chaos. Like, seriously, at one point during that 450 main event, and I tweeted this out, like, AP was pulling away from everybody, but basically 2 through 8 was running nose to tail. Roxon, Anderson at the tail end of the group, Tomac, Barsha, Sexton, Webb, all in the mix, battling with each other. Anderson goes down. Cian Cirillo was right in the group. Like, it was just unbelievable how close everybody was and the action that was happening in the 450 main event. And meanwhile, Aaron's just pulling away from everybody and then blows it late. Gosh, still bummed about that. Like, I think that one's going to irk me. I hope he wins coming up soon, because that's one of those things that he had that race won. He really did, and such a shame that happened. So, I mean, there's not much more to say other than that. It was a small mistake. It was a small, unfortunate incident, and fortunately, AP said he's okay. I want to give huge credit to him for doing an interview after the race, because those guys normally, when they go through that situation, are like, the last thing I want is a camera in my face. But that is why, like I said, I think most media members would agree, Aaron's awesome. Like, he almost always accepts an interview when you ask him, and that was no different. That was one of the worst moments of his career probably, and to still stand up to the plate and go do a TV interview. And the reason why that's good, in my opinion, not every rider has to do it or should do it or feels obligated to do it. I'm not one that's sitting here saying like everybody should interview at all times. But why I think that's a good reason to do that, and why Aaron's obviously gained a ton of respect, is because it gives a glimpse to every fan that's watching at home, every fan that's in the stadium, of just how much it means to these guys. Like, to see Plessinger crying and emotional and all this stuff like that, this isn't just like some little sideshow circus thing. It means a ton to win these main events, and I think that that's huge for our sport if we can show that raw emotion a little bit more often. And I know that it makes these guys appear more vulnerable, but hey, for Plessinger's sake, it made him appear more awesome because he became more real to us as fans. So I think that's something that, you know, I just wish that the top guys every once in a while would be trained a little bit more on, about like why it's important to be interviewed even at your worst times. But yeah, so I just want to give credit because it reminded me a little bit of AC giving an interview after he lost the title in Vegas in 2019 and owning up to his mistakes and stuff like that. It felt very similar to that, and AC deserved a lot of credit then, and AP deserves a ton of credit now for stepping up to the plate and still being interviewed. So I'm going to be done talking about that, because now we got to talk about the dramatic stuff that everybody really actually, I feels like, wants to talk about. Number one is Chase Sexton wins that main event. However, he was penalized 7 points because he jumped on a red cross flag when Dean Wilson was down in the big double before the start straight. Everybody in front of and behind Sexton rolled both the small double and big double because the red cross flag was out on the small double and the red lights were on the big double. So those are two big no-nos in the rule book. Now, Sexton is going to, well, he can't really fight it. He can't really appeal it, and I don't think it's something that's going to, you know, go to the court of law or anything like that. But Sexton, after the race, did say he felt he was in the right because he was past the incident, which is, you know, the red cross flag was out, Dean Wilson was up and moving, and Sexton elected to jump even though the red lights are still on the double. And they, just for the sake of understanding here, they treat that big double the same as a Supercross triple. When there are those red flashing lights on the top or the face of a jump, it is basically treated as a Supercross triple. So in the rule books, it says if you jump a Supercross triple when the red lights are flashing, then you receive a penalty. So that is why he gets penalized, you know, red cross incident behind him or not. Now, the reason why it's 7 points specifically, and people have been a little bit confused about this, is because he loses 2 positions of points, not positions on track. So he retains the win, but he loses 2 positions of points. So he goes from the win to third in points, which is 21 points versus 26, plus 2 additional points. That is how the rule is written. You lose 2 positions worth of points plus 2 additional points. So if he had finished 5th in the main event, he would have lost 2 positions of points and gone back to 7th plus 2 additional points. So he would have lost a total of 4 points right there, because he would go from 5th place points to 9th place points. In this scenario, it looks like he loses just 3 positions straight up because he goes from winning points to 4th place points. But it is 2 positions worth of points plus 2 additional points added on. That is the penalty. It's just straight up. It's black and white in the rule book. It's clear as day. It's the exact same penalty Marvin Musquin received when he won the 2019 Seattle Supercross, but was penalized for jumping on a red cross. Same thing, same story, same deal, the entire thing like that. So it's pretty self-explanatory. I feel like people getting tripped up on this about like, why is it 7, more AMA throwing stuff at the dartboard. Like, it's really simple to understand it in the rule books, in my opinion. Now, the question that needs to be raised, I feel a little bit here, is about red cross flags, red lights being flashed, and what can be done about this situation moving forward, because a lot of these riders tend to complain about, like, well, you can't see the red lights, you can't tell when a red cross is out, sometimes it doesn't matter. Because, like, in this situation, there wasn't a medic necessarily right on the track helping Wilson. There was a medic that picked up Wilson's bike, but then Wilson stood up and was like, I'm okay, I'm going to get back on my bike. So the reason the red cross flag comes out is for a medical situation on track, and it really is for personnel on track, but it's always medical staff. Like there's never like felled people, track workers, flaggers or something like that just standing on the track and they need to put a red cross flag out for that. That just doesn't happen. But in this case, the incident was finishing or about done, and the red cross flag was still out. And then the red lights flashing on the big double jump, I think, are just because when the red cross flag is waving in that section, it automatically initiates the red lights to flash on the jump in that section in question. So it becomes a fully rollable section. Now, should they come up with a solution to make this better? Should they put something on the handlebars? Yeah, I really do think that they should consider it so that it's visible, it's understandable to everybody, it's noticeable. I think Sexton is in the wrong here just because of the way that the rule is written and the way that they have it set up on that jump. He did break the rule and it's an infraction, but it's still a situation where we have these guys jumping all the time, and then we've had so many people losing points in situations that are not really intuitive to racing happening because of these red crosses being out. So I think there needs to be some sort of solution, whether it is a bright light on the handlebars to signal that you must roll a jump until you're clear of a section, then it turns off, but then that's more technology that maybe isn't want to be invested into the sport. I just hate that for Sexton, he loses the 7 points. He was only going to be 10 back. Now he's 17 back in the championship. Was he going to maybe get back in this title fight? Sure, maybe. But he did kind of get gifted the win, so to say that the momentum was like fully rolling back in his favor is not totally fair. But if it comes down to him losing this title by 6 points or less, he's going to really, really hate this situation for the way that it happened. And I just hate that this is the way that a championship is decided based on, one guy waving a flag and one guy in the race control tower leaving lights on until basically enough people have gone by the section that he feels like he can turn the lights off. So I think that there's a better way that they could handle this. I think there's a better way that they could do this. And I think that there's ways to make this work better that doesn't result in people getting penalized all the time. However, in this case, I think by the book, Sexton does deserve a penalty, and that's the way it goes. So he wins. He goes from what would be 10 points back of Cooper Webb, who is now 3 points up on Eli Tomac in the championship. So they all would have been separated by 10 points with 7 to go, which would have been sick. But now he's 17 back, and it's really kind of turned into a little bit of a two-horse race for this championship. Unless some chaos happens in Seattle, Sexton wins and pulls this thing closer. Because he was about to be pretty close again, but now it's pretty far. Like, he went from, oh, this is awesome, we're really close, to, I just lost a bunch more points again, and now we have more work to do, even though I just won the main event. So, yeah, I think that deserves a whole discussion, but I'll just leave it at that and let you guys argue in the comment section below. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, because I didn't want to go through too much today, I wanted to kind of cover the 3 main talking points. It's Hayden Deegan, Jordan Smith in the heat race, and everyone has had a side or opinion on this. And obviously from my side, coming from the media. Now, I wasn't in Detroit. I was not in the post-race press conference either, because I was having a big family birthday celebration thing, and did actually fully take this weekend off as best as I could. It's never really a weekend off for me. I still have to watch the race, pay attention, write down notes, pick up stats, etc., and then afterwards still do a bunch of work to get content out on racexonline.com. But I did try to take as much of the day off, so I didn't go in the post-race press conference. I didn't go to Detroit, and so because of that, I wasn't right there to feel everything that was happening. But from an outsider's perspective, first of all, the incident between Deegan and Smith in the heat race, why there's such an uproar about this from the industry standpoint for all those Deegan fans out there that are brand new to watching Supercross this year, and it's very clearly that there are some. I know some people are going to be like, oh, I watched the sport forever, now I just like this Deegan kid. No, there's a lot of people that are very uneducated when it comes to the sport of Supercross that are fans of Deegan, and that's cool. I'm so glad that they're getting involved in the sport and watching it, but I think that they have some years to learn some stuff. Regardless of which, in the history of the sport, in a heat race, teammates don't race like that unless they absolutely hate each other. They really don't. It doesn't matter if you're racing for the win straight up and we're just going for it, brother. You don't race like that with your teammate in the heat race. It's never happened ever in the history of the sport unless they hate each other for a reason. So it was weird. It happens after the whoops where Jordan Smith is going to the outside trying to pass Deegan. They just kind of come together. I think it was super incidental contact, the first situation. But Jordan was a little bit like, hey man, I was to your outside, maybe pay attention. And that's why I think going down the next straightaway, he kind of arches over towards Deegan a little bit. I don't think it was as aggressive as some people are making it sound, but yeah, he was going over there to cut the line off to make sure Deegan didn't have an angle on him going into the corner. And when he realized Deegan was still there, he swung out wide to give Deegan the opportunity to run him high in the corner. Like, that's just standard racecraft. But Deegan ends up like kind of brake checking into the corner a little bit. And that's like counter racecraft. He's trying to block the line of Smith maybe cutting down out of the corner. But then when Smith passes him back down the next straightaway, I think that this is where it steps over the line a little bit, in my opinion. I think everything up until this point was just like two guys kind of racing, having some weird racecraft with each other. When Smith passes him back and then Deegan slams on the brakes to cut back underneath of him and go straight up to the very top of the berm in the next corner and give him the business, like, we're beyond the level of like, okay, this is just like, we're having, a good little battle as teammates. That's like, no, I'm pissed off at you, and maybe you're pissed off at me, but we're gonna fight over it, kind of thing. Like, that was egregious for a heat race. In a main event, sure, like, you're trying to pass him and go for the win, like, whatever, but it's a heat race. Like, at worst, Deegan's gonna get second there behind Smith and still have a great gate pick for the main event, and they go back to the truck and sort it out. In this case, Deegan almost puts Smith down. Smith stands it back up, comes down the next straightaway, and then this is where Jordan Smith is at fault, in my opinion, because he was kind of out of his own mind at that point, I think, because of the situation he's going through, and ran it deep on Deegan, trying to pass him back, and just fell on his rear tire. Like, that's all Jordan's fault. Like, Deegan did cut over pretty hard coming in the next corner, but it's a right 90, and he was apexing the corner the way he probably should have anyway, so it's not a big deal. So it's like three wrongs don't make a right in this situation. Like, it was two teammates that for some reason decided to battle each other hard. For some reason, Deegan decided that whatever Smith was doing was too much, so then he tried to punt him, and then Smith thought that was ridiculous, so then he tried to punt Deegan back, and then they're just going at each other's throats for 3 straight corners, and then Jeremy Martin gets by and wins the heat race. Like, all of it, I think, was just too much, and I think it's a learning moment for Deegan. I think it was a stupid moment for Smith as a veteran to just not say, like, whatever, I'm gonna not even entertain this situation. But then after the race, this is where, like, I feel like it tips over from, like, okay, that was just a weird moment, to what are we even talking about here? The post-race press conference happens. I'm not going to get into the whole David Iser asking the questions about, Jordan Smith being out of the championship and the Deegan fans, like, basically saying, what are you, like, sucking his nuts or something like that? Because as members of the media, like, we're supposed to ask hard questions. Like, it is our job to go in there and get the real storylines about the race. I think Iser's question was a bit pushy when it comes to asking about Jordan Smith being out of the championship and all this stuff like that, but he was really trying to get Deegan to explain why the two of them were battling the way they were, and he worded the question probably a little bit wrong, but I get where he was going with it. And then Deegan to, like, I don't know, kind of laugh it off and be like, I don't even remember. It's just weird. It really is. I don't, like, dislike Deegan at all, but I think that that's a weird look, not only for yourself, but for your team, for your teammate. This is a guy that you have to go back and train with this week, and then you're just acting like, I didn't even really realize what was going on, and then said, I think Jordan's out of the championship anyway because he was in 5th, but he was ahead of him going into the night, and, if Hunter gets hurt, then Jordan Smith was still definitely right in the championship hunt, so you can't say that he was fully out of it. All around a weird look, in my opinion. So, I'm not one to sit here and say everybody did everything right, or someone did something right, or blow smoke up someone. I think that Iser's questions were probably a little bit too egregious. He should have phrased it differently. I think Deegan's responses were a little bit odd. I think Jordan Smith's riding was odd. And I think Deegan riding the way that he did to start that whole thing, or to really push it to the level it was, I wouldn't say that he started it, but to go for the block pass attempt that he did push it to the point that it got to, was weird and or wrong as well. So again, I think it was just a vicious circle of nothing really going the way it probably should have there. I don't mind aggressive racing. I don't mind really dirty racing. I don't really care. It's not my opinion to decide what is good or bad about this type of racing. But I felt like all of it was just so weird for a heat race. If you're going to do that in the main event, like, whatever, I guess go ahead, light up your teammate. But in a heat race, when there's no points on the line, doesn't matter, maybe one gate pick, and to say that you're just going out there trying to win, I don't know. Like, it seems weird to me. Just from my perspective, I think people are going to have a different perspective, and I can already hear you guys rage typing in the chat right now to defend Deegan, and I get it. Like, he's a cool dude. I like him. I like Brian. I like all of them. But I think that this was a weird look for the whole scenario. Really do. So, again, I'm probably wrong, and you guys are probably down in the comment section below raging right now, but I think that it was a weird look for sure, to say the least. And I think that that's the unfortunate part about it, is that Deegan's had such a good season so far, and he got on the podium again, and all this stuff is trending in the right direction, that had it just been a normal heat race, we would be talking about how great it is that Deegan's on the podium again, and how tremendous this rookie season has been, and how much he's learning, and how he's third in the points, and all this stuff like that. But yeah, it was just weird. And by the way, I don't agree at all with the take that Deegan caused Jordan Smith to miss the main event. Jordan caused it all himself. Like, the retaliation pass back thing that he was trying to do that put him on the ground was the start of it. To crash 3 more times after that really sealed the deal. And then to have a bad LCQ, install the bike, and almost come back, but then pick a weird line going to the last corner. Like, that's all Jordan. That's not Deegan at all. But it starts with this situation, and I think that going back, I think that that's something that if you're Deegan, you maybe just think about it a little bit differently, in my opinion. So, yeah, maybe that's a little bit long-winded. Maybe you guys didn't want to hear my opinion on it. I don't care, but it's my channel. I'll do what I want. So that's my reaction to the 2023 Detroit Supercross. While we play MX bikes, have a little bit of fun, talk about the racing, and yeah, just kind of synopsize it all. So hopefully you enjoyed the gameplay as I cruise around in slow motion on this track, basically, and yeah, just talk about a couple things. AP going down, Sexton's penalty, and the Deegan drama, all of it encapsulated into one fun video for you guys. Let's get involved in the comment section below. You guys raging down there, go ahead. Let's bring it. Let's talk about it a little bit. Let's go back and forth. At the end of the day, you know, if you guys hate me for my opinion, whatever. I'm just out here talking, having a good time, living moto, and you know, not really taking it too important, I guess. Like, if Deegan does what he wants to do, then he does what he wants to do, and then it's cool. Then we have another interesting thing to talk about in the sport, and from a media standpoint, that's great. Like, let's just get it all riled up. I'm just saying, from a 50 years of history in the sport, that was one of the weirder situations I've ever seen from a heat race. So yeah, let's get in the comment section below. Let's keep talking about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, like I said. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, let's go down in the comment section below and bring it up. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.